How I approached the photographs, I thought about how the animals would think about themselves. They love being what they are, they don't know any difference. We don't know what it's like to be a fox or a bird, but we can imagine it. So I always thought they must love being what they are, and that's how I went about photographing, I suppose. When I was doing that, it just started to reveal in the best possible way the great sides of them. It brought out a value in the animal, I think. I found that I valued them more as well at the end of the day. When I was growing up, it was just get a trade and get a job and stuff like that. There was no talk about tour level education. There was, I suppose, but I just wasn't inspired when I was in school. If you're watching a duck family going around, the emotions you have are good emotions. They're good feelings. So when you're looking at a duck, or baby ducks going around, it's just joy, right? It's a joyous moment. A lot of the mallard ducklings, they spend 1 or 2 days taking their ducklings around, but they lose interest after a while. Looking after them, keeping them close. The birds be watching for this, because the ducklings will stray, and the birds begin straight away and just picking off the ducklings. No problem. Easy prey animals. A lot of the times you see with a mother duck and a ducklings, you'll see drakes wanting to mate with the mother duck even though she has a ducklings. And they'll chase her around the pond, she'll even fly out of the pond and she'll leave the ducklings on her own. As I say, predators to be watching, herons particularly and gulls, to watch for this kind of thing. It's astonishing to see them thinking. You know that they're after figuring this out and they're in straight away. It's awful stuff, but I can't understand why people can't grasp, that this is their lives. These animals are motivated by hunger. I've seen worse in the butcher shop window, to be honest with you. Ducklings are predators in their own way, predators, they're not, apex predators, but they're killing and eating other animals. They're eating insects throughout the day. I watched a duckling try to catch a butterfly, gorgeous butterfly, delicate, beautiful butterfly, and it was jumping up trying to get it. The duckling was trying to get it, and I didn't want it to get the butterfly, just stay away from the butterfly. But sometimes, I found that if I was to photograph an action shot, like a particularly hard action shot, like a gull swooping in and catching its prey, like a duckling in this case, or the heron on the hunt, that if I was after being listened to, some really good heavy rock, high energy music, I did better photographs. I was pumped up for it. Ministry was in there, Led Zeppelin was in there, U2, of course. I love U2. The Prodigy, yeah, that was really great. Get your adrenaline going, get you pumped up. A lot of the times you get people saying, oh, you're right place at the right time, or you are lucky. But you don't be lucky with wildlife. A lot of work goes into it, knowing figuring out the animal's routine. And then hoping that you have everything right with the camera and everything right with the light and everything like this. And it's a lot of bad luck in it because a lot of things go against you. So there's no luck in when you're doing it on a full-time basis. So I hate when people say, that was a lucky shot, because it's never a lucky shot. So I've had this stuff published in all Irish newspapers, many English, British papers. The photographs being syndicated through Europe, as far away as China and Vietnam. The New York Times, National Geographic, a few times in their magazine, their publication for kids. I think getting the front page in the Irish papers and the response from the Irish audience is the best thrill, though, you know. One of the great things about the swans is the mother would always, the cygnets kind of find their way onto her back, and she keeps them on her back then, safe and under the feathers, and she carts them around up and down the river that way. It's a funny moment when she stand up in the water in the shallow and stretch out her wings without any warning to the young cygnets, and they're just falling and flying all over the place and landing on the back. It's always a great sight to see. It's always really funny. Under the bridge, it's a man-made rock kind of a thing, and there's gaps in the rocks, and a young cygnet got stuck in the rock and they couldn't get out. Both parents tried to get the cygnet out, and they couldn't get it out. It would stay there overnight. I was down the next day, and I almost felt like helping it out because it was a man-made obstacle, but I couldn't get down, so I left it. And it was horrible. It was really distressing. The poor thing was chirping throughout the evening, I can imagine throughout the night. Anyway, the next day it managed to get itself out of the crack, and the male swan came over, and I thought, oh wow, Jesus, amazing, I couldn't believe it survived the night. It got itself out of the cracks between the rocks and hopped out. But it must have just got weak or something overnight, because whatever was going through the male swan's mind, it decided that it wasn't strong enough to stay with the bunch, and it killed it. It just hit it really hard with its beak and it killed it. After everything that it went through, it killed it. I could only assume that it did that because the lame cygnet would hold up the rest of them and take up time and whatever, and jeopardise them losing the rest of the cygnets. You know, you're used to seeing stuff like this on big nature programs out in the savannas of Africa and stuff like that, and seeing the trials of life, but you'll see it there in front of you, and this is under a very busy bridge in Dublin City. This whole dramatic event took place. There's 7 kids in our family, and I just always had an instinct to protect my brothers and sisters. I was good at scrapping when I was a kid. I was good at getting myself out of scrapes. That's the only thing I can think of that I actually was good at. I had no problem dealing with the bullies when I was growing up. I think that stood to me in my days through my life, that I had that confidence. I never put up with any kind of bullying in jobs or people giving other people a hard time, and I always did something about it. But a lot of times you're out first thing in the morning because you don't want to miss a trick. You want to get everything out of that day. But I found that when I was out and about, I couldn't go around wearing camouflage gear and walking around city streets. It just didn't look right. One person thought I was a private detective, and he was probably guilty of something. But he thought that's why the only thing he could figure out I could be. I got out of all the late nights and stuff like that when I was about 28. Actually, I sacrificed a nightlife that I used to have. And not hardcore drugs or anything like that. Marijuana. I used to smoke marijuana when I was younger, yeah. I wouldn't smoke marijuana now. I couldn't get anything done. But at the time, it was cool, you know. It had its moments. There's a time and place for you. Like everything else, too much of anything is not good for you. And definitely would have had too much here there and again, yeah. But no lasting effects, thank God. You know, I stopped smoking. I cut down significantly on drinking. Basically, I lost my imagination, I think, from, you know, being out on late nights and enjoying my youth and the party scene, and it catches up with you after a while, you know. Mild depression, I say, would have came out of that. But once I got back out there into observing, the woods, looking more closely at everything, and my imagination really started to fire up again. I got away from triggers, triggers that would be in societies, like a word, maybe a stop sign, something like that, words that you would see here and there, so I tried to get away from words. Concrete, it can be very gloomy, and moving water is really great for you. Whatever's bothering me around it. Once you go near a river, it drifts away. It always clears me thoughts with the sound of a river moving by. And even a dawn chorus or a night chorus of the birds, that again is another really joyous thing that fills you up, fills up your spirit, fills up your whole love of life again. It makes you feel alive. I always remember one morning, just up in the pond out in Dublin in the park. It was first thing in the morning. I used to go down for first light, sun be coming up, and the sun hit the water, and it created steam on the pond, and there's all this steam rising. But the heron came flying in and squawking and screeching. The whole scene with the woods and the atmosphere from the steam coming up in the morning, it just felt prehistoric and wild, and it just woke me up really, to the majesty of it all, back to nature again, My favourite photograph I think I ever took was of fixing the mother fox with the young cub, just looking over its mother. There's a love there, between the fox and its young. The fox cubs are really, really playful. They're like kids, really. They're jumping around, You can see they could really enjoy life, They really enjoy the whole thing, and playing. There's a lot of playing going on with foxes, play fights. They love the sun. The foxes love the sun. They're great for sunning themselves. The mother, she nurses them all the time on her own milk for a period of time, and then in between that she's bringing them back solid foods as well and getting them. So as she was bringing them back sausages and stuff like that coming from out in the streets at night, people dropping them. They loved all of that. Then she started burying them. I'd watch her coming in with the food, and she'd go off, bury it slightly under the ground, call down to the young foxes, wake them up out of the den, and they'd come out of there scurrying, and they could smell the food, and they would sniff around, really running around, and then the first one to locate it, and then there'd be just a big fight would break out between them, and one little fox would be seen running off with the food, and all the other 4 or 5 siblings would be chasing her after wanting the food. But yeah, that was a way of getting them to, I suppose, learn how to find food for themselves. Generally speaking, I think foxes are beautiful creatures. I mean, one of the biggest things they eat down on the river was rats. They're keeping down the rat population to a certain degree, I suppose, I could never chase a fox around to its point of exhaustion and fear and terror. I'd look at a photograph of a fox all day, beautiful picture of a fox, or watching the fox just doing its natural thing before I'd ever go out hunting it down, For years and years, when I would look at a housing estate, I would get scared, because that to me meant wife and the kids, and not this big world adventure and this freedom. And I kind of got into that lifestyle where I wouldn't commit, short relationships and stuff like that. And then I kind of got out of that scene of going out and drinking and meeting girls and the whole lot, and all the one-night stands. Barely remember what happened and stuff like that. And sometimes you can't remember, it's bloody embarrassing. People aren't revealing. So that's the difference between wildlife. There's no pretense there. It is as it is, because they're acting out their true nature. I don't like going to bars and meeting women, and I don't like that anymore. I like sober minds. I definitely want to continue to photograph Ireland's wildlife. forever for the rest of the days, especially to capture great moments and to keep the value there of our wildlife. And I think by capturing great photographs is one way of getting people to be wowed by what we have.